Purple Warriors podcast. I'm your host, Ali Sugars, and thank you for joining us. This podcast is about raising awareness for domestic and family abuse by allowing survivors to share their own journeys to recovery. You will find practical yet powerful information and tools that you can immediately implement into your own journey to recovery. You will also hear information on how you can help someone you suspect may be in a toxic relationship. To support this podcast and get access to amazing bonus content, click Become a Patron for more information. If you have a story to share, reach out to me, Ali F. Sugars, on Facebook, YouTube and Instagram. Hosts and guests will often discuss sensitive topics in detail. While this is done with the utmost respect and dignity, this may cause triggers for some listeners. Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode of the Purple Warriors podcast. And before I introduce today's lovely guest, I would like to thank our sponsor once again today. We have Sandra Santoro from Live Activated. Getting activated helps you to take control of your health and let the aging process know that you are in control. Activating your cells can help with sleep, energy, immune health and pain. Get activated and take control today. To contact Sandra, you can find her on activatemylife.net or on Facebook under Sandra Live Activated. So thanks once again, Sandra, for sponsoring this episode. And now I would like to introduce you to our wonderful guest today. We have Sue Giacobbe, and please tell me I said that right.
You did. You absolutely
Hello, Sue. Welcome.
Hello, and how are you?
Fantastic. Oh, goodness. We've been having a little bit of fun before recording this episode, just so you know, everyone.
Yes, we have.
So we're a bit giggly, but that's okay. It's all good. Sue is a coach, mentor, and change facilitator who is passionate about people, teams, organisations, and their potential. So, Sue, if you would like to tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for having me on the show, Ali. I really am excited about being here.
It's a pleasure.
Now, I refer to myself as a facilitator of transformation. So yes, I'm a life coach. I'm a mentor. I work with people in workshops and one-on-one training. But I like that I journey with people along their path of growth and transformation. So rather than, anything else, it's about facilitating what's already there to be uncovered and discovered. So that's what I do. I have a few different areas that I work in. I work one-on-one in coaching, but I also run workshops, and with another partner of mine, we run training programs for non-academic staff in school. So we do personal development because I believe that everybody has the right for professional development, no matter where they are and where they work. So that's a little bit about me, other than being a mum and a grandmum.
Oh, just a mum, just a grandma,
Just thought I'd throw that in.
Just a facilitator of transformation, nothing much. So Sue, tell us, how did you come to work in the field that you're working in? I'm really curious to hear about this because, like you say, it's quite a broad field that you work in.
Yeah. And I think this path started for me from when I was at school. It's really interesting because you're not aware of what you're not aware of. And then you look back and you kind of see patterns. But when I was at school, it was interesting because I would see potential in certain girls that they didn't see in themselves. And I was really excited about helping them at that time. That was the thought. It was, how do I help this person see who they really are? So that was kind of just an organic thing that was happening while I was at school. And then later life happened. And I'll talk a little bit about life happened after that. And I came then across this path again when I was looking to kind of move from high school into university, and I wanted to do psychology. But there were some blocks there and I wasn't able to do it. And so I kind of gave it up because at that time my mum said to me, you know, you don't want to do psychology. That's going to take a lot of years. You're going to be a mum one day and you need to be home with your children. So do something else. So in my head, it was like, oh, that's for other people. That's not for me. So moving forward after life events, I then was looking for some counseling for myself. And that's what took me on the path of then studying counseling and then pursuing education and development in this area, and then eventually stepping out on my own and leaving a full-time job and deciding that it's time for me to take this on now as my own business and, you know, live my passion really.
Oh, yes, that's lovely when you get to live your passion. So tell us a bit more about those life experiences that led you into this.
Okay, so that kind of leads into a bit of my bigger story. So I am a young girl, first in the family, so number one child, come from a Greek background, so a very strong culture, but also very strong in the faith.
Right.
So the Orthodox faith, it's a very conservative faith. And so I grew up in this culture where it was very much about girls were, even if they were going to study, it was about being a mum and being a wife. And my mum in particular was very concerned that I didn't marry too late, because it's really important for a girl to keep her virginity, really what it's all about, but the standing in community before she spoils, make sure she's married. And so my upbringing really was very much grooming me to be a mum and a wife. And so at 16 I was engaged, and 17 I was married, and 18 I had my first child. By the time I was 25, I had 4 children.
Wow.
So I married a Greek man, and also came from a very strong, you know, Greek cultural background. And in the beginning, when we were courting, it was all very much about showing me affection and showering me with gifts. But what I didn't realize then, and I realized later, was the little controlling factors that were still coming in at that time. And then once we got married, it really started to reveal itself, where the controlling and the managing and the manipulation kind of started. So at 17, I wanted to go back and study. He wanted me to start a family then. So we did this compromise where you can go and do secretarial school, and then you'd be, you know, able to be home and raise the kids. So, and the problem wasn't me having children, because I wanted to have children. I just would have liked to have it later, but I wanted to have children, wanted to have lots of children. So moving forward, the situation, I guess, that I was in became more and more where I was being isolated. And being cut off from family and friends. And really, if I wanted to see family, he always organized it that he took me. And so I didn't have a lot of alone time with them. And then I wasn't driving at the time. And then eventually he said, you know, go and grab your license. So I did. But I wasn't allowed to drive the car that was in the driveway. So at this stage, I've got, you know, like 3 children, dragging them around, because they were 3 under 3. And then it progressed from there, and it went to the point where it then became physical.
Right.
But I hadn't told anyone what was going on. So all of this I kept a secret the whole time. And then when it became physical, my eldest was, I think, about 12.
Wow.
So it became physical, but I would hide it from the children. So I thought I would see it coming. I'd go into another room. It would be done. He would leave the room. I would then leave the room. I learned later that my children were very aware that that was happening.
Wow.
But I guess the defining moment for me was when one day there was an argument and he wrapped his hands around my throat and was strangling me, but the children were in front. And so now I've got a 4-year-old that's screaming and he's trying to protect me, and he's standing between myself and his dad. And I've got another daughter that's screaming. And at that moment, I just zoned right out. And all I could think of is, this is never going to happen again. My children are never going to see this again. So it wasn't even about me. It was the moment my children were impacted, I thought, my children will never see this again. So at that moment, I made that decision that somehow I was going to get out. Because up until then, I was just diminishing as a person. I had lost myself. I just forgotten about my energy, my enthusiasm, my zest for life. It no longer was. And so the very next day, after, quite a heavy night, the very next day he left and I called a taxi. And that time that I waited between the taxi arriving, us getting in and leaving the house, was, I would say, probably the most painful and the longest time it felt like, because my fear was, what if he arrives just before I leave?
Yes.
What's going to happen?
Wow. So did you have time to pack anything and take it with you?
No.
It's just you and the kids.
I threw the kids in the taxi and I went to my sister's, because all I could think of is, I've just got to get out. And if I don't get out now, I don't know if I'll find the courage or the strength to do it again later. Yeah. So that's what I did.
That is incredible. And that's so young to go through that as well. So you said you were, how old were you then?
So I would have been then probably about 28.
See, that's really young to have to go through that.
Yeah.
And isn't it amazing? You've got 4 children, I've got 2, and the similar thing happened to me when, something happened to my son. And that was the moment where I just went, no. It was the same thing, as mums, we don't really look at it for ourselves, do we? Even when it's happening to us.
No.
The children that we focus on. So
yeah.
Wow.
And I guess, part of it too for me was I kept it a secret. I didn't want anyone to know, from a couple of levels. One, because what if he became okay? Because it wasn't always that way. He got worse and worse. But initially there was a charming and a caring side. And, you go in these cycles.
Yes.
It was okay, and then it would be okay just for a little bit, and then it would get like on eggshells, and then it would explode. And, so I kept thinking, but if I tell everyone, then they'll only see the bad side of him. So I was protecting him. I don't, like you do these things without even realizing. And then the other thing was, I live in a culture where you don't divorce, you don't separate. How am I going to do this?
Yeah.
And in fact, I kept, as things were heating up, I would think things like, if I just drove straight into that tree, then it would be done. I never thought I want to commit suicide, but I did want to end it somehow, and I didn't know how to end the ongoing saga.
The pain. It's pain.
Yeah.
And so, out of curiosity, so you said that it started off as emotional abuse, and then it led into physical abuse. Did you find? I mean, again, you're very, very young when that started. Did you find that you were hiding the emotional abuse because you were ashamed, of what people would think of you, like you said,
Yeah. I was hiding the emotional abuse because I didn't want to upset my parents. They would be very upset, and they would then be in their home thinking, oh, how bad is my, what is the life my daughter living? And so I was protecting all these people around me. I didn't feel supported by his mum and dad to tell them. And so I wouldn't share because he was the golden child. He was the son and the golden child. So I didn't feel like I could go to them. And I was isolated from everyone else. He'd done a really good job of just cutting me off from people. And he was very jealous and very obsessive and very possessive. So I couldn't even really have free conversations without him controlling it.
Wow.
The concern for my name came later, like what are people going to think of me came later. But initially it was about protecting. Yeah. Which is, really strange.
Yeah. And for you also, it's very culturally based, as you said too.
Yeah.
Very much culturally based.
I guess, yeah. I think too, when women don't feel they're going to be supported afterwards, like who's going to support them? Like I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. I didn't have money.
And how did so you said also that we said it's culturally based very much, so you said you went to your sisters at that stage. Were your family aware of what was going on? Because as you said, you've got the religion as well. How did you cope with that, and how did your family cope with it? Did they end up supporting you through that?
Yes, I was really one of the fortunate ones, I guess. But my family still didn't know anything about it until that moment when I went to my sisters and I said, I've left, this is the situation. Wow. And I don't know that I can go back. And she said, that is fine, stay here. I have sensed that there has been stuff going on, but you've always kind of kept it private. And so she said, stay here for as long as you want. The problem was they were leaving in 3 weeks to go to Greece to establish a business along with my mum, my dad and my brother. So my whole family was leaving.
Wow.
So my timing wasn't fabulous.
Well, it wasn't your timing.
She said, stay here for as long as you need and we'll sort it out. And then when I told my mum, I said, I have to let you know, this is the situation, this is what's been happening. And she said, why did you never, say anything? And I said, because I didn't want everyone being unsettled around my life and then, you being in your home and worrying about me in my home. And she also said, I knew something was going on because she said, we would come to your house and I could see that you had been crying, but you would make everything okay when we were there. And I didn't pry because I thought, oh, it's just maybe a tiff they've had. And I'd ask you and you say, no, everything's fine, which it was true. But the minute I told them the situation, they were really supportive. They were, did whatever they could to help me in that short period of time.
Beautiful. That's great to hear. And so you've come out of the relationship now and you said you went on a bit of a journey of self-discovery yourself. Yeah,
so
tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, it was quite a journey. It was like this.
Yes, I understand.
The highs and the lows. And it's interesting because I've always been interested in professional development or in growth. I didn't call it those things at the time, but there was a little voice inside of me that always was guiding me and leading me, that it's like, choose life. And I felt like everything that was happening to me in my relationship was zapping me of life, if that makes sense, and just stealing my joy, stealing my light, my voice. Everything was just kind of going inwards. But this little voice just kept saying, choose life. And, I think it's my angels that were just guiding me. So I guess at that point, there was a moment in my life where I decided that I wasn't just going to be the person who survived this episode. I was going to be the person that grew from it and thrived and claimed my life back and claimed my power back. Yes. And I articulate it that way now. It wasn't in those words then, but it was just this knowing inside of me that I'm not going to just lie down and die.
Yes.
There's more in me than this. I don't know how, but I'll find a way. I was very fortunate that I had people come around me. Once I allowed people in and let go of the secret,
Yes.
yes, because that's the thing, we hold on to the secret, and we carry that shame and guilt, because part of it too was, and this was some of the stuff he fed me, was that I wasn't a good person. I wasn't a good wife. If it wasn't for him, I'd be in the gutter. I really didn't have value. I didn't have worth. There was so much of that you get into the space where you believe, actually, it must be me.
Yeah,
and so and you hold on to this secret, because if it's me, then it's not his fault. I've got to do something to make life better for everyone. So the moment I let people in, it's amazing how many wonderful people came around me and supported me. And so when I moved into my first place with the children on our own, because he didn't let me stay in the house, and so I left. I had nothing. I had no furniture, no crockery, no cutlery. I had a townhouse, but nothing, because he wouldn't release any of the belongings. And people just gathered around me and brought me mattresses, and they loaned me a TV, or they said, here's some extra crockery and cutlery we have, you can have that. People opened up their garages and said, come in and get whatever you need. It was just amazing, the support and the generosity of people around me once I opened up. Yeah.
Oh, that's heartwarming.
And so then I decided to go on a healing journey. Well, I didn't decide, it just was kind of smacked me in the face. It's like, okay, I better deal with this stuff, because really I was just, there was grief, there was anger, there was fear, there was a lot of fear. And I thought, I can't keep just struggling through my day and then collapsing at the end of the day. And so that's when I began to get some counseling, and to have, I guess, people that were positive come around me, and to start to read things and listen to things that were going to feed my soul and nurture me and help me grow, and identify the areas that I guess were challenges or opportunities for me to then work through.
Yeah, that's interesting what you were saying. There's a couple of things there. So, you were saying how, all of a sudden you kind of just felt like it snuck up on you, that you weren't feeling like you had any worth. But it's because, your husband was kind of really gradually wearing you down, and that's what they do. They just gradually wear you down. Like, before you know it, you've got this feeling of, oh my goodness, no, oh, I'm no good. But good on you. I'm so happy to hear the other side of that, in the fact that, on the other hand, when you did decide to talk and share what you were going through with other people, that people are so supportive when we actually are brave enough to tell them what's happening, aren't they? It's amazing how people just wrap their arms around us.
Yep. And sometimes people just wait for you to open up the door, because if you're saying, no, you can't come in, they don't want to push that door open forcefully. And they respect your wishes. So, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it's a bit of a catch-22 at sometimes, isn't it? Even when people know, they might know, or be pretty sure that we're going through something like this. They may not even then want to talk about it or approach it with us, because they're just not 100% sure. Yeah. So it's kind of like it's very.
Yeah. And the reality was that most people were not aware, because in public, he was great. He was a charmer. He was like, couldn't be lovelier. It was in our private world that it changed.
Yeah.
When everyone was kind of gone home. And so only the few people like my mom or my sister, or just really close people like that, could see some things that weren't quite right.
Yeah. So you've come out of it, which is fantastic. That is, I'm so happy about that. Now, we were talking before this about igniting the light within. I would love you, if you're happy, to tell me more about that.
Yeah, and it comes from that space for me, because I noticed how brightly my light used to shine when I was very little.
Right.
And then there was this space of time where it just dimmed completely. And my zest for life, I was disconnected. And then on the other side again, how again I was like, oh my gosh, that's right, that's who I am. That's me. Look at my light.
Yay, beautiful.
Can you see me shine?
I can.
So it became a passion of mine to help, or to journey, I should say, more to journey with people along their path of discovery, or the path of remembering again the essence of them. And when you remember the essence of you and you start to connect with that, that light starts to brighten up again and shine, and you remember the things that excited you, and you remember the things that you were passionate about that you kind of put aside. And it's, not only in domestic abuse, sometimes women who get caught up in the lives of their husband or their children or their workplace, that can happen too, because we're givers, we're so much of us to give. And so it's about just reconnecting with that light. And one of my favorite things that I guess helped solidify this for me was in the Easter tradition in the Greek Orthodox Church, on the Saturday night, which is the service of the resurrection, there is a point at midnight when all of the lights are turned off.
Right.
So we're in pitch darkness. And then the priest will come out from the altar and he holds the candle with one light. We all have candles. And then what happens is the people in the front row go up and light their candle from that one light.
Oh, wow.
And then they turn around and light the candle of the next row. And we turn around and light the candle of the next row. And so I say this and I get goosebumps every time I think of it. And you can see the church lighting up little by little. And it all started from one candle. And so when we ignite our light, how we then shine and other people ignite their light through who we are and what we do. And it makes me so emotional, because this is the way that I see of removing the darkness, or bringing the light back into the dark spaces of our world, of our life.
Oh, I can feel your emotion, and I have to say that just that picture, as you were describing that, I was picturing that in my head, and I'm almost in tears now.
Yeah, it's just I just find it like it was so symbolic for me. And I actually used this in my launch. When I launched my business, I had at my launch all the people that had mentored and coached me, and I invited them all, and all of the people that were in the room, we were about 100 people in the room, all had a candle. And so I went through this exercise to demonstrate it. And so, oh my gosh, it just still makes me emotional. And so we shut all the lights out, off, and then I lit my candle, and then I lit my coach's candles, or the people that coached me and mentored me in my life, whether officially or unofficially. And then they lit the oil, and then the room just lit up. And so everybody got a sense of what that meant for me. And I was just absolutely stoked that I could do it.
Oh my goodness, that's just beautiful. I think that's incredible, because I do think that is exactly what these ladies who have experienced that, they go through. I know for myself that I certainly, I lost my light, and hearing that, it makes me wish that I had had someone like you in my life back when I was coming out of it too, to actually show me that practice. So in that, tell us a little bit more about your courses or your services that you provide for such people as our listeners?
So the thing that I guess I'm really passionate about, and it doesn't matter what the presenting issue is when women come to see me, at the core of it all is the beliefs that we have about ourselves.
Yes.
And and this kind of is why I've developed a model. I call it the expansion model, because I've seen that, you know, it could be, oh, I can't achieve my goals. And it's like, okay, let's start with goal setting.
Yep.
But when we start there and we explore what's happening and you go down the layers, you go to the essence of it, which is the beliefs that we have about ourselves, the perceptions that we have that others perceive us in certain ways, or how we should be, or who we should be for others. Is just so much that we've collected along the way, from a very young age and through the different experiences. And those beliefs, they just keep, and our brain will do this thing where it just keeps looking to reaffirm those patterns that you're developing and going, yeah, you're right. That is a belief. That is true. How am I going to keep you safe? And so every experience we go through just adds another layer, or, you know, kind of strength to that belief. And so what I love is when we get together and eventually we get to those, and then they have their aha moments, and then they're released from some of these beliefs that have held them back. And it could even be coming from a loving family, but there was something like, you know, a client that I was working with, and we've completed this particular program that I'll talk about. But her thing was, and her family was loving, but her dad would say things like, oh, your sister's a real leader. You're good at, but your sister's a leader. And so she got the story that she isn't a leader. And so she needs to be smaller. So much so that she became a mute, a self-selected mute. Wow. Because that's how small she became. No voice, just don't exist. And then you just let others shine. So if I get out of the way, then other people can shine. And so it's interesting how even from a loving, caring family, we can create certain beliefs that then drive our life. Mm. And so for me, it's about how do we work together? And that's why I say I'm a facilitator of transformation. How do we transform from that space into the space where we shine brightly, where we're expansive, where we're unlimited? Our potential is just, there, and we can now reach it. We can at least see it now.
That's exciting. That's I'm watching your body language when you're talking about it. You just get really.
I do expand.
Oh, you are. There's power behind words, isn't there?
Yeah.
Absolute power behind words.
Yeah.
So I believe you are going to share with us a bit about a model that you teach.
Yeah, so I have been developing this model, and there are 5 elements in this model. And I've started working with people who have started, as I've got a pilot program, and I'll put it out there in a minute for everyone, but I've got a pilot program, and so that I can work and develop this program and make it the best it could be for others, not for me, but for others. Mm. And so in this model, we have what are the elements around the core, which is the belief. And so the 5 elements that I work with is goals, values, self-responsibility, confidence, self-responsibility, and then in the core is the beliefs.
Yes.
And so it starts with something smaller, which opens up then to the different levels. And so when we're working through, we start to uncover the stories. It's not about staying in the stories. It's about getting the connection, saying, aha, okay, I see that now. I see why I do this. And then moving forward. And then once we work through those beliefs and then reframe our beliefs and show the beliefs that limit us and show the beliefs that actually help us grow, and then focus on those. Then we can go to the next levels, and the confidence, and then the self-responsibility. Then we take charge of our own life. So there's power when we decide we are responsible for our life and nobody else is. There's power to say, actually, yeah, stuff happened. I'm not, it's not good, but it did happen. But now I choose what I do with the rest of my life. And so there's power in that.
Absolutely.
And the minute we start to take responsibility and we make decisions about what we want, for ourselves and where we want our life to go, then we can put in the building blocks and then work with our confidence, because of course when your belief system is one that limits you and keeps you small, your confidence is impacted. There's self-doubt, there's the self-belief is low, the worth and the value, is low. And then we look at our values, because when our values are not aligned with our life, there's a lot of incongruencies. And so then how we live our life with the values we think we have, or the values we compromise, impact our inner alignment.
That was a good point. You used the word compromise there. That's a very good point. And I think that a lot of us probably do that a lot without realizing it, don't we?
We do. Yeah. And most of us don't really know our values. Like, we won't sit down and say, what are my values? We reactively do stuff, but we don't identify strongly with our values. So one of the exercises I do with my clients is working through our values. And one of my clients, it was interesting because that's one of the initial exercises. And then by the end of the program, I said, okay, can we relook at your values? And when she came back after doing the work, not only were her values written in a completely different font, they were more powerful and more aligned with who she really is, the essence of her, and where she wants to be in her life. And I say that and I get goosebumps, because it was like transformation just there, just in that. And she was like, I can't believe I had those values. They weren't my values. They were the values that were put on me.
Yes.
And I thought they were my values, and I thought that I should live up to those. And that's why I've been unhappy.
Exactly. It's a journey, isn't it?
Yes.
It's an absolute journey. And when you get that enlightenment
yes.
it is like that light goes on.
Correct. And I love it when I see those moments in my clients when the light goes on, because the minute that light goes on, I know they've seen it. You can't unsee what you see.
Exactly.
And I don't, I'm a goosebumpy person clearly tonight, because I'm talking and I'm just like, and then we can go to the goals and go, okay, now I can set my goals and I'm not going to be triggered, and I can do the micro steps. And then we do exercise around how to actually manage that in itself, but goals that you want for yourself, not what others think you should have or think you should do.
And that is a good point too, yes, because it's all about what we want for ourselves, not what others want for us. I love that.
Yep. And so I'm running pilot programs. So if anybody is interested in joining my pilot programs, please contact me. How are they going to contact me, Ali?
They are going to contact you via your email, which we will actually, or as always, we'll put all the links, etc., below this episode. So, if people, so they can email you. How else can people get in contact with you, Sue?
They can get on my Facebook and message me. They can go to my website and they can contact me through my website, and we'll have those links as well. I think my mobile is there on my website and my Facebook page. So also very happy to have a conversation. I am a chatty. I like to talk to people. So happy to do it by phone as well.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Sue. You have given me a lot of goosebumps tonight as well, which is beautiful. Your story is amazing, and that picture of those lights, the candles in the church, is one that I am going to now carry with me, because that's I'm still a bit teary from that. So thank you so much for sharing that, and
My pleasure.
we will make sure that your details are available to anyone who would like to come and be involved in your pilot program.
Thank you. Thanks, Sally, for having me.
Thanks for coming on tonight, Sue.
Pleasure. See ya.